Welcome to my channel. Let me ask you a simple question. Why do some people study English for years but still cannot speak confidently while others start speaking much faster? The secret is not grammar. The secret is not talent. The secret is one powerful habit. They always try to talk in English. In today's video, I will show you why speaking English every day can completely change your fluency. I will also share simple methods that absolute beginners can start using today. So stay with me, because one idea in this video might completely change your English journey forever. Chapter 1. Most English learners stay silent. Let us begin with a simple story. There was a young man who wanted to learn English. He was very serious about it. Every day he studied vocabulary. Every day he learned grammar rules. He practiced pronunciation and watched English videos for hours. He listened to podcasts while walking. He read English articles before going to bed. He carried a small notebook everywhere he went. Whenever he discovered a new word, he wrote it down. Whenever he learned a new grammar rule, he highlighted it carefully. He believed that if he kept studying, one day he would become fluent. Months passed. Then more months passed. His notebook became full of vocabulary. He knew many grammar rules. He could understand simple videos. He could read short stories. Every time he learned something new, he felt happy. He looked at his progress and thought, I am getting better. Soon I will be able to speak English confidently. Everything seemed to be going well. Then one day, something unexpected happened. While he was traveling, he met a visitor who spoke English. The visitor smiled and asked him a very simple question. It was not difficult. It was not advanced English. In fact, it was a question he had studied many times before. The young man understood every word. He knew exactly what the visitor was asking. But when he tried to answer, something strange happened. His mind became completely empty. The words disappeared. The sentences disappeared. The grammar rules he had studied for months suddenly seemed far away. He stood there silently. He wanted to speak, but nothing came out. A few seconds felt like a few minutes. Finally, he gave a short answer and quickly ended the conversation. After that moment, he felt disappointed. He asked himself, why did this happen? I know English. I study every day. I understand the question. So why can't I answer? Maybe some of you have experienced the same thing. Maybe you know hundreds of English words. Maybe you can understand YouTube videos. Maybe you have completed many grammar lessons. But when someone speaks to you in English, you become nervous. Your mind becomes blank. The words do not come out as easily as you expected. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. The reason this happens is actually very simple. Learning English and using English are not the same thing. Many learners spend years learning English, but very little time actually using English. They learn vocabulary lists. They memorize grammar rules. They watch lessons and read books. All of these things are useful and important. But speaking is a skill, and skills only improve when they are used. Think about driving a car. Imagine a person who reads 10 books about driving. He learns every traffic rule. He watches hundreds of driving videos. He studies how the engine works. He understands everything about driving in theory. But there is one problem. He never sits behind the wheel. Would that person become a confident driver? Of course not. The first time he enters a real car, he will probably feel nervous. He may know the rules, but he lacks experience. Driving becomes natural only when he actually drives. English works exactly the same way. Many learners know a lot about English, but they do not use English enough. They become what I call English collectors. They collect vocabulary. They collect grammar rules. They collect learning materials. Their notebooks become bigger and bigger. Their knowledge grows and grows, but their speaking ability stays almost the same because they rarely use what they collect. The goal is not to become an English collector. The goal is to become an English user. English is not learned only through study. English becomes real when it is used. Every time you speak, your brain learns something new. Every time you create a sentence, your speaking muscles become stronger. Every time you communicate, your confidence grows a little more.
This is why some learners improve faster than others. It is not because they are smarter. It is not because they have better memory. It is not because they know more grammar. Very often, they improve faster because they use English more often. They speak even when they feel nervous. They speak even when they make mistakes. They speak even when their vocabulary is small. They understand that communication is more important than perfection. I remember meeting a learner who knew only a few hundred English words. His grammar was not perfect. His pronunciation still needed improvement. But he spoke English every day. He described his room. He talked about his family. He talked about his daily routine. He used every opportunity to practice. Another learner knew much more vocabulary and grammar. He studied constantly, but he rarely spoke. A few months later, something interesting happened. The first learner became much more confident. His speaking improved quickly. The second learner still felt afraid to speak. Why? Because speaking improves through speaking. This is one of the most important lessons you can learn in your English journey. Knowledge is valuable, but knowledge alone is not enough. English becomes powerful when you use it. English becomes natural when you practice it. English becomes part of your life when you speak it. So if you have been feeling frustrated because you cannot speak as well as you want, do not worry. The problem may not be your vocabulary. The problem may not be your grammar. The problem may simply be that you need more speaking practice. And now we arrive at an important question. If speaking is so important, how can beginners start speaking when they know only a few words? What should they say? How can they practice if they do not have a speaking partner? The answer may surprise you. And that is exactly what we will discover in the next chapter. Chapter R. Start speaking with the English. You already know now. Let us answer the important question from the last chapter. If speaking English is so important, how can a beginner start speaking when they know only a few words? Many learners believe they need thousands of words before they can speak. They think they must learn more vocabulary first. They think they must master grammar before opening their mouth. They think they need perfect pronunciation before they can have a conversation. Because of these beliefs, they keep waiting. They keep studying. They keep preparing. But they never start speaking. Let me tell you a story. There was a learner named Ahmed. Ahmed loved English. He watched English lessons every day. He studied vocabulary for hours. He filled notebook after notebook with new words and grammar rules. Whenever he learned something new, he felt excited. But every time someone suggested speaking practice, he always gave the same answer. He would say, "I am not ready." A few months later, he still said, "I need more vocabulary." Then another year passed, and he started saying, "My grammar is not good enough." No matter how much he learned, he always found a reason to postpone speaking. Maybe some of you are doing the same thing. Maybe you believe your vocabulary is too small. Maybe you think your grammar needs more work. Maybe you are waiting for the day when you finally feel ready. But here is something important to understand. The feeling of being completely ready rarely comes. If you keep waiting until everything is perfect, you may wait forever. One day, Ahmed met an English teacher. The teacher listened carefully to all his excuses. Then he asked a very simple question. He said, "Can you describe your room in English?" Ahmed looked surprised. He expected a difficult question, but this seemed too easy. The teacher smiled and said, "Use only simple words." Ahmed looked around and started speaking. He said, "This is my room. My room is small. I have a bed. I have a table. I have a chair. There is a window. I like my room." When he finished, the teacher smiled and said, "You see? You are already speaking English." That moment changed Ahmed's thinking. He suddenly realized something that many learners never realize. Speaking does not begin with advanced vocabulary. Speaking begins with simple sentences. Fluency does not start with difficult grammar. Fluency starts with using simple English again and again. The problem was never that Ahmed could not speak. The problem was that he believed speaking had to sound advanced before it counted as speaking. This is one of the biggest myths in language learning. Many learners think fluent speakers started with difficult English, but that is not true. Every fluent speaker once used simple sentences. Every confident speaker once struggled with basic words. Every advanced learner was once a beginner. Fluency grows slowly, one sentence at a time. It starts small and becomes bigger through practice. Think about the English you already know. So, you probably know words like house, room, family, food, water, school, friend, book, phone, and table. You probably know simple verbs like eat, drink, sleep, study, work, walk, read, and write. These words may seem basic, but they are enough to begin speaking. The real problem is not that learners know too little English. The real problem is that they use too little English. One of the best ways to change this is through self-talk. Self-talk simply means talking to yourself in English. Some people think this sounds strange, but it is actually one of the most powerful speaking exercises available. Where's the arvzan? The reason is simple. You do not need a speaking partner. You do not need a classroom. You do not need a teacher standing beside you. You can practice anytime and anywhere. Your daily life becomes your English lesson. Imagine that you wake up in the morning. Look around your room and describe what you see. You can say, "I am in my room. My room is clean. There is a bed. There is a window. My phone is on the table." These are very simple sentences, but they are real English. They are helping your brain become comfortable with speaking. Now imagine you are eating breakfast. You can describe your meal. Say, "I am eating bread." I am drinking tea. The tea is hot. The food tastes good. These sentences may seem small, but every sentence is practice. Every sentence helps you build confidence. Later in the day, you can talk about the weather. Look outside and say, "The weather is nice today." The sky is blue. It is sunny. There are some clouds. Then you can talk about your family. You can say, "My father is working. My mother is cooking. My brother is studying. My family is very important to me." After that, you can talk about your daily routine. You can say, "I wake up at 7 o'clock. I eat breakfast. I go to work. I study English in the evening." These are simple sentences, but simple sentences are the foundation of fluent English. Speaking alone is powerful because it removes many obstacles. You do not have to wait for someone to practice with. You do not have to worry about making mistakes in front of other people. You do not have to feel nervous. You can focus completely on using English. The more you speak, the more comfortable you become. The more comfortable you become, the more confident you feel. Many successful learners began exactly this way. They talked to themselves while walking. They described what they saw while traveling. They spoke English while cooking, cleaning, or exercising. At first, they spoke slowly. Sometimes they forgot words. Sometimes they made mistakes. But they continued. Day after day, their speaking became easier. Their confidence grew. Their English became stronger because they were using it regularly. Now I want to give you a simple challenge. I call it the 10-minute English Challenge. Starting today, speak English for 10 minutes every day. Talk about your room. Talk about your family. Talk about your plans. Talk about your work. Talk about anything you like. Do not worry about mistakes. Do not worry about perfect grammar. Do not worry about sounding fluent. Just keep talking. 10 minutes may not sound like much, but if you do it every day, the results can be amazing. Right now, many of you are probably realizing something important. You do not need to wait another month. You do not need to learn another 1,000 words before you begin. You do not need perfect grammar. You already know enough English to start speaking today. The only thing you need is the courage to begin. But there is another problem that many learners face. They start speaking with excitement. They practice for a few days. Sometimes they practice for a week. Then life becomes busy. The habit disappears. Their motivation fades away. Slowly, they stop speaking again. Why does this happen? Why do so many learners quit even when they know speaking is important? The answer has nothing to do with intelligence or talent. It has everything to do with consistency, and that is exactly what we will discover in the next chapter. Chapter 10. The Daily. Habit that changes everything now. Let us talk about something that changes everything in language learning. Many learners know they should practice English. Many learners know they should speak every day. They watch videos about learning English. They read books about fluency. They understand the importance of speaking, but knowing something and doing something are very different things. This chapter is about the reason many learners stop improving even when they have good intentions. Let me tell you a story. There was a learner named Daniel. Daniel was excited about learning English. One day, he watched a motivational video and decided that he was finally going to become fluent. He created a study plan. He downloaded English apps. He wrote goals in a notebook. For the first few days, everything went perfectly. He practiced speaking. He learned vocabulary. He listened to English every day. He felt excited and full of energy. But then something happened. A few days later, life became busy. He skipped one day of practice. Then he skipped another day. Soon an entire week passed without speaking English. When he finally tried to practice again, he felt uncomfortable. His confidence was lower than before. Speaking felt harder. He became frustrated and stopped again. A few weeks later, he felt motivated once more. He started practicing again. For a few days he worked hard. Then he stopped again. The same cycle repeated over and over. Excitement. Practice. Stop. Start again. Excitement. Practice. Stop. Start again. Every time he stopped, his progress slowed down. Every time he lost momentum, it became harder to begin again. Maybe this story sounds familiar. Many English learners follow the same pattern. They feel motivated. After watching an inspiring video, they practice for a few days. Then they get busy. Then they stop. After a while, they feel guilty and start again. Unfortunately, this cycle makes progress very slow. One day, Daniel learned an important lesson. He realized that motivation was not the answer. Motivation feels wonderful when it is there, but motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel excited. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel focused. Some days you do not feel like studying at all. If your English practice depends only on motivation, your progress will always go up and down. That is when Daniel discovered something much more powerful than motivation. He discovered the power of habits. A habit is something you do regularly without needing to think about it. Think about brushing your teeth. Most people do not wake up every morning feeling excited about brushing their teeth. They do not wait for motivation. They simply do it because it has become part of their daily routine. Imagine if English practice became like that. Imagine if speaking English became a normal part of your day, just like brushing your teeth. You would not need to wait for the perfect mood. You would not need to feel inspired. You would simply practice because it had become a habit. This is where many learners make another mistake. They believe they need long study sessions to improve. They think they need 1 hour every day. When they cannot find 1 hour, they do nothing at all. But language learning does not work that way. 5 minutes every day is often more powerful than 1 hour once a week. Think about it. A learner who speaks English for 5 minutes every day practices 35 minutes every week. Another learner studies for 1 hour on Sunday and then does nothing for the rest of the week. The second learner spends more time studying. But the first learner connects with English 7 different times. Those daily connections keep English active in the brain. This is how small actions create big improvements. Every day you speak a little. Every day your brain becomes more familiar with English. Every day you strengthen the habit. The changes may seem small at first, but over time they become powerful. So how can you make English a daily habit? One of the easiest methods is something called habit stacking. Habit stacking means connecting a new habit to something you already do every day. Instead of finding extra time for English, you add English to activities that are already part of your routine. For example, if you make tea every morning, use that time to speak English. Describe what you are doing. Say, I am making tea. The water is hot. The tea smells good. These simple sentences turn an ordinary activity into English practice. You can do the same thing while walking. As you walk, describe the things around you. Say, the sky is blue. There are many cars on the road. The weather is nice today. You are not just walking anymore. You are practicing English. You can even practice while cooking. Describe each step. Say, I am cutting vegetables. I am cooking rice. The food looks delicious. Again, the sentences are simple, but they are helping you build fluency. The beauty of habit stacking is that it removes excuses. You do not need extra time. You do not need a special study session. You simply combine English with activities you already do every day. And something amazing happens when you repeat this process regularly. Daily repetition trains the brain. At first, your brain works hard to create simple sentences. You stop often. You search for words. You think about grammar. Sometimes it feels slow and frustrating. But every time you speak, your brain becomes stronger. Every sentence is like exercise for your speaking ability. The more you repeat, the easier it becomes. This is good news for anyone who feels overwhelmed. You do not need to study for 3 hours every day. You do not need complicated learning systems. You do not need perfect conditions. You simply need consistent action. Many learners believe success comes from doing something big. In reality, success often comes from doing something small every day. 5 minutes today, 5 minutes tomorrow, 5 minutes the next day. Those small moments add up faster than you think. There is another important lesson hidden inside all of this. Many people believe confidence comes first. They think, when I feel confident, I will start speaking English. But confidence does not work that way. Confidence comes from action. Think about riding a bicycle. Nobody becomes confident before riding. Confidence appears after practicing. Speaking English is exactly the same. The more you speak, the more comfortable you become. The more comfortable you become, the more confident you feel. Every sentence you speak adds a little confidence. Every day you practice adds a little courage. Little by little, the fear becomes smaller. Little by little, speaking becomes easier. This is why habits are so powerful. They keep you moving even when motivation disappears. They help you continue practicing even on difficult days. They create progress without requiring perfect conditions. So remember this important lesson. Do not focus on doing something amazing once. Focus on doing something small every day. Speak for 5 minutes if you cannot speak for 30. Practice one sentence if you cannot practice 10. Keep the habit alive. Small actions repeated consistently create extraordinary results. But now an exciting question appears. What happens when someone follows this habit for months? What happens when a learner keeps speaking English every single day, even in small ways? Can these tiny daily actions really transform a person's English? The answer is inspiring. And that is exactly what we will discover in the next chapter. Chapter C. How always talking in English. Readers, your brain, now let us talk about something amazing that happens when you speak English every day. Most learners focus on visible progress. They want to learn more vocabulary. They want better grammar. They want clearer pronunciation. But something much more important is happening behind the scenes. Your brain is changing. Your brain is adapting. Your brain is slowly becoming more comfortable with English. This process is not always easy to see, but it is one of the most powerful parts of language. Learning. Let me tell you about a learner named Sarah. Sarah was very shy when she started learning English. She understood some words and simple sentences, but speaking felt difficult. Whenever she tried to talk, she became nervous. She worried about making mistakes. She worried about forgetting words. She worried about what other people might think. Because of this fear, she usually stayed silent. One day, Sarah decided to follow a simple rule. She would speak English every day, even if it was only for a few minutes. She did not wait until she felt confident. She did not wait until her grammar became perfect. She simply started using the English she already knew. At first, speaking was not easy. She spoke slowly. She stopped often to think of words. She made many mistakes. Sometimes her sentences sounded strange. Sometimes she forgot simple vocabulary. Sometimes she felt frustrated because she could not express her ideas clearly. There were days when she wondered if she was making any progress at all. But Sarah continued. Every morning she described her room in English. Every afternoon she talked about her plans. Every evening she spoke about her day. The sentences were simple, but she repeated them again and again. Day after day, week after week, she kept practicing. Then something interesting started to happen. The changes were small at first. She noticed that she paused less often. She remembered words more quickly. Creating simple sentences became easier. Speaking, no longer, felt as difficult as it had before. The progress was slow, but it was real. This happens because the brain learns through repetition. Every time you speak English, your brain creates connections. The more often you use those connections, the stronger they become. Think about a path through a forest. If nobody walks on the path, it becomes difficult to see. But if people walk on it every day, the path becomes clearer and easier to follow. The same thing happens inside your brain. Every time you use English, you strengthen the pathways that help you communicate. One day, Sarah experienced something that many language learners dream about. She was walking outside when she noticed that she was thinking in English. She was not translating. She was not forcing herself. She was simply thinking. She looked at the sky and thought, "The weather is beautiful today." A few moments later, she noticed a busy street and thought, "There are many people here today." The thoughts appeared naturally. She was surprised because she had spent years translating everything into her native language before speaking English. Now something had changed. This is one of the most exciting moments in language learning. At the beginning, many learners use a slow process. They hear English. They translate it into their native language. Then they create an answer in their native language. Finally, they translate that answer back into English. This takes time and makes speaking feel difficult. But when you speak English regularly, your brain becomes more comfortable with the language. Little by little, you begin understanding English directly. You begin creating sentences more quickly. Instead of translating every word, you simply communicate. This is why speaking every day is so powerful. It teaches your brain to think in English. As this process continues, another improvement appears. Your sentences become faster. At the beginning, creating one sentence might take several seconds. You stop and think about grammar. You search for vocabulary. You worry about mistakes. But after months of practice, the process becomes smoother. The words come more naturally. The pauses become shorter. Speaking feels less like hard work and more like a normal conversation. Something else improves at the same time. Your listening becomes better. Many learners think listening and speaking are separate skills. In reality, they are closely connected. The more you speak English, the more familiar English sounds become. Your brain starts recognizing patterns. Common phrases become easier to understand. Words that once sounded too fast begin to sound clearer. Sarah noticed this change too. At first, English videos seemed very fast. She often missed important words, but after months of speaking every day, she found herself understanding more. The language no longer sounded like a confusing stream of sounds. It started sounding meaningful and familiar. This is why speaking improves more than just speaking. It improves listening. It improves vocabulary. It improves confidence. It improves fluency. All these skills grow together. Think about going to the gym. When you exercise regularly, your muscles become stronger. At first, lifting a weight feels difficult. Your muscles become tired quickly. But if you continue training, the same weight feels lighter over time. The muscles adapt and become stronger. Your brain works in a very similar way. At first, speaking English feels difficult because your brain is not used to it. Creating sentences requires effort. Understanding conversations requires concentration. But the more you practice, the stronger your English brain becomes. Tasks that once felt difficult begin to feel natural. Then comes one of the most emotional moments in the learning journey. One day, Sarah realized that English felt easier, not perfect, not effortless, just easier. She could express simple ideas without fear. She could understand more than before. She could speak without constantly translating. For the first time, she felt real confidence. That moment did not happen because she learned a magic grammar rule. It did not happen because she memorized thousands of words. It happened because she spoke English consistently. This is an important lesson for every learner watching this video. Real fluency is not built in one day. It is built through hundreds of small moments of practice. Every sentence matters. Every conversation matters. Every day of speaking matters. The amazing thing is that these improvements often happen quietly. You may not notice them from one day to the next, but if you keep speaking, One day you will look back and realize how much you have changed. The English that once felt difficult will start feeling natural. The confidence you once wanted will begin to appear. But even after understanding all of this, many learners still face one big problem. There is still one enemy that stops people from speaking English. It is stronger than lack of vocabulary. It is stronger than bad grammar. It is stronger than pronunciation mistakes. And if you do not learn how to defeat it, it can stop your progress completely. What is this enemy? That is exactly what we will discover in the next chapter. Chapter Woof. THEFRER, that stops. And English learners. Now let us talk about the biggest enemy of English learners. It is not grammar. It is not vocabulary. It is not pronunciation. The biggest enemy is fear. This fear stops millions of learners from speaking every day. It keeps them silent even when they know enough English to communicate. It convinces them that they are not ready. It tells them to wait, and unfortunately, many learners listen to it. There are different kinds of fear. Some learners are afraid of making mistakes. They want every sentence to be perfect before they speak. Other learners are afraid of pronunciation mistakes. They worry that people will not understand them. Some are afraid of being judged. They think other people will laugh at them, and many learners are simply afraid of sounding foolish. They believe that making mistakes means they are failing. If you have ever felt this way, you are not alone. Almost every English learner has experienced these fears. In fact, even many fluent English speakers once felt exactly the same way. The difference is that they learned how to move forward despite their fear. Let me tell you a story about two learners. The first learner was named Ali. Ali knew many English words. He studied grammar regularly. He watched English videos and listened to lessons every day. But he was afraid of making mistakes. Whenever he had an opportunity to speak, he stayed silent. He thought, "What if I say something wrong?" He thought, "What if people laugh at me?" So he waited for the day when his English would be perfect. The second learner was named Omar. Omar knew less English than Ali. His grammar was not perfect. His pronunciation was not perfect. He often made mistakes. But Omar had a different attitude. Whenever he had an opportunity to speak, he used it. Sometimes his sentences were wrong. Sometimes he forgot words. Sometimes people corrected him. But he continued speaking. A few months later, something interesting happened. Omar improved much faster than Ali. His confidence grew. His speaking became smoother. His listening improved. Meanwhile, Ali still felt nervous whenever he tried to speak. Why did this happen? Because Omar was learning through action. Every mistake taught him something. Every conversation made him stronger. Every speaking experience helped him improve. Ali was protecting himself from mistakes, but he was also protecting himself from progress. This is an important. The learners who improve the fastest are not always the learners who make the fewest mistakes. Often, they are the learners who are willing to make mistakes and learn from them. Think about a baby learning to walk. A baby does not stand up and walk perfectly on the first day. The baby falls down again and again. Sometimes the baby loses balance after only one step. sometimes after 2 steps. But nobody looks at the baby and says, "You failed." Why? Because everyone understands that falling is part of learning. The baby learns from every fall. The baby becomes stronger after every attempt. Eventually, the baby walks confidently. Learning English works exactly the same way. Every mistake is a step forward. Every mistake teaches you something valuable. Every mistake shows you what you need to improve. Mistakes are not proof that you are failing. Mistakes are proof that you are learning. Unfortunately, many learners see mistakes as enemies. They become embarrassed whenever they make one. They apologize constantly. They focus on what went wrong instead of focusing on what they learned. What if you changed the way you think about mistakes? What if every mistake became a teacher? Imagine that you say a sentence incorrectly and someone corrects you. Instead of feeling embarrassed, you learn something new. Now you know the correct way to say it. That mistake has improved your English. In reality, the mistake was not your enemy. The mistake was your teacher. This brings us to another dangerous problem: perfection. Many learners secretly believe they must speak perfectly before they start speaking regularly. They want perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation, perfect vocabulary, perfect sentences. But perfection is dangerous. Perfection makes people wait. Perfection creates fear. Perfection keeps learners silent. The truth is that perfection is not necessary for communication. Think about conversations you have in your own language. People make mistakes all the time. They forget words. They correct themselves. They change sentences in the middle of speaking. Yet communication still happens. The goal of English is not perfection. The goal of English is communication. If people understand your message, you have succeeded. This simple idea changes everything. Instead of asking, "Was my grammar perfect?" ask yourself, "Did I communicate my idea?" Instead of asking, "Did I make mistakes?" ask yourself, "Did I learn something?" When you focus on communication instead of perfection, speaking becomes much less stressful. I want you to remember something important. Every fluent English speaker was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once felt nervous. Every person who speaks English naturally today once struggled with simple sentences. They were not born fluent. They were not born confident. They became fluent through practice. They became confident through experience. They made mistakes. They learned from those mistakes. They kept speaking. This realization is powerful because it means fluency is not reserved for special people. It is available to anyone who is willing to keep practicing. So the next time you feel afraid of making a mistake, remember this. A mistake is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you are growing. Every mistake is taking you one step closer to fluency. And here is the most important message of this chapter. Speaking badly is better than staying silent. A learner who speaks imperfect English every day will usually improve much. Faster than a learner who speaks perfect English only inside their imagination. Silence feels comfortable, but it creates no progress. Speaking may feel uncomfortable, but it creates growth. The learners who succeed are not the learners who never feel fear. They are the learners who continue speaking despite their fear. So, do not wait until you feel completely ready. Do not wait until your English is perfect. Do not wait until all your fears disappear. Start speaking now. Use the English you already know. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Allow yourself to learn. Allow yourself to grow. And now we arrive at one final question. If you continue speaking English every day, if you build the habit, if you overcome your fear, and if you keep moving forward despite mistakes, what kind of person can you become 1 year from now? The answer is inspiring. And that is exactly what we will discover in the final chapter. Chapter Lok. Your future English is speaking. Sylph. Now we come to the final chapter. Throughout this video, we have talked about speaking English every day. We have talked about building habits, overcoming fear, and using simple English. But now I want you to imagine something. Imagine yourself 1 year from today. Imagine the person you could become if you continue speaking English every day. Not perfectly, not for hours and hours, just consistently, just one day at a time. Let me tell you about a learner named Hassan. 1 year ago, Hassan was exactly like many English learners watching this video. He understood some English, but speaking made him nervous. He translated everything in his head. He worried about mistakes. He felt uncomfortable whenever he tried to have a conversation. Like many learners, he believed fluency was something far away. Then Hassan made one simple decision. He decided to speak English every day. Some days he spoke for 10 minutes. Some days he spoke for only 5 minutes. But he kept going. He described his room. He talked about his daily routine. He practiced while walking. He practiced while cooking. He practiced even when he felt tired. Most importantly, he did not stop. The first few weeks were not easy. Speaking felt slow. He made many mistakes. Sometimes he forgot simple words. Sometimes he became frustrated. But he remembered an important lesson. Progress does not come from being perfect. Progress comes from continuing. Month after month, small changes began to appear. His confidence grew. He no longer felt afraid every time he opened his mouth. Speaking became more natural. Conversations became less stressful. Instead of worrying about every mistake, he focused on sharing his ideas. His listening improved too. English videos that once sounded fast started becoming easier to understand. He could recognize more words. He could follow conversations more comfortably. The sounds of English became familiar because he was using English every day. Then another change appeared. His speaking became faster. At the beginning, creating a simple sentence required a lot of thinking. He stopped often and searched for words. But after months of daily practice, the words came more quickly. The pauses became shorter. Speaking felt smoother. One day, Hassan noticed something amazing. He was thinking in English. He was not translating. He was not forcing himself. English thoughts were simply appearing in his mind. For many learners, this is one of the most exciting moments in the entire language learning journey. It is the moment when English stops feeling like a school subject and starts feeling like a real language. But the benefits did not stop there. As Hassan's English improved, new opportunities began to appear. He could communicate with more people. He could make friends from different countries. He could watch English videos and understand more of what he heard. He could read books, articles, and websites that were once difficult. He felt more confident, applying for opportunities that required English. He could learn from teachers and experts from around the world. His world became bigger because his English became stronger. This is something many learners forget. English is not only a language, it is also a tool. It is a tool that can help you connect with people, learn new skills, travel more confidently, and discover opportunities that may not have been available before. For some people, English creates better educational opportunities. For others, it creates career opportunities. For many people, it creates friendships and connections across the world. And for almost everyone, it creates confidence. The confidence that comes from knowing you can communicate with another human being in a different language is a powerful feeling. Now, here is something very important to remember. Fluency is not one big moment. Many learners imagine that one day they will suddenly wake up fluent. But that is not how fluency works. Fluency is built one sentence at a time, one conversation at a time, one day of practice at a time. Every sentence you speak is adding another brick to the foundation. Every conversation is helping you improve. Every day you continue practicing is bringing you closer to your goal. Goal. This is why you do not need perfect English. You do not need to know every grammar rule. You do not need a huge vocabulary. You do not need perfect pronunciation. What you need is daily practice. What you need is consistency. What you need is the courage to keep going. Let us quickly remember the lessons we learned in this video. We learned that studying English without speaking is not enough. We learned that speaking begins with simple sentences. We learned that you can practice English even when you are alone. We learned that daily habits are more powerful than motivation. We learned that mistakes are not enemies. They are teachers. We learned that confidence comes, and we learned that speaking English every day slowly changes the way your brain works. So speak now. Use simple English. Practice every day. Accept mistakes. Stay consistent. These simple ideas we're citing, but they are the same ideas that have helped millions of learners improve their English. And now I want you to imagine yourself 1 year from today. Imagine having conversations in English with confidence. Imagine understanding videos more easily. Imagine speaking without translating every word. Imagine expressing your ideas more naturally. Imagine looking back at the person you are today and realizing how much progress you have made. That future version of yourself is not created by talent. It is not created by luck. It is created instead by small daily actions, repeated again and again. Every sentence you speak today is helping create that future. Every minute of practice is helping create that future. Every time you choose to speak instead of staying silent, you are moving closer to that future. So as we come to the end of this video, I want to leave you with one powerful message. Always talk in English. Talk when you are confident. Talk when you are nervous. Talk when your sentences are simple. Talk when you make mistakes. Keep talking, because the more you use English, the more English becomes part of your life. And one day you may realize that the language which once felt impossible has become something natural, comfortable, and familiar. Always talk in English, and English will become part of who you are. If you enjoyed this video and learned something valuable today, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our English learning videos. And in the comments below, write, "I will talk in English every day." I would love to read your comments and hear about your English journey. Thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me today. Remember, you do not need perfect English to start speaking. You do not need thousands of words. You do not need perfect grammar. What you need is the courage to begin and the commitment to keep going. Every sentence you speak is progress. Every mistake teaches you something new. Every day you practice makes you a little stronger than yesterday. Fluency is not built in one day. It is built one sentence at a time, one conversation at a time, and one day at a time. So from today, make a promise to yourself. Speak English every day. Use simple English. Do not be afraid of mistakes. Keep practicing, keep improving, and keep believing in yourself. Your future English-speaking self is waiting for you, and every word you speak today brings you one step closer to that person. Keep learning, keep speaking, and keep growing. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.